Hello guys, my name is Risan. I'm a musician from Germany, and I'm gonna break down a beat I just made for you. Turns out, I made like a live beat making session for like 40 minutes, and wanted to cut that down to like the important bits, and the recording software messed it up. So without further ado, let's get this. The first one is to put the volume on the maximum. So the first thing I'm gonna show you is the main melody. This is that. Basically, this melody consists of this. Right? I'm gonna open a new piano roll and show you that. This is basically the melody. It switches up, so I changed the last note on the second playing. So this basically gives the melody more drive, and it seems a bit less like a loop. The second thing I did is go for harmonies. If you don't know what harmonies are, basically, I'm gonna explain it with chords. There are basically scales, and if you connect these scales with like use all the notes that you can use of a scale, and don't count and then take every second one starting from any root note, in this case for example from this note, and in the scale I'm using this note, and this note is also in the scale, right? Actually this one. And so what I do is I add harmonies. It means I add this note, I add this note, and I put the volume pretty low. This just gives the track more drive. Like I like it that way. And what I do here is I do the opposite. So normally I would do this, of course, like this would be here, right? Yeah, here. And but that would be too high for the thing, so I put it one octave down. I do this by holding control and then pressing the down key. The reason I do it here and not there, which would also be logical, is because that's how I do my melody, right? Okay, so and then I'll also put one here. This is basically the same one as that. And we can basically copy that over to the other side. The next thing I want to note about the melody is motifs. Motifs are something that is basically like a returning thing in a track. The motif here is this little, like this, the downwards three tones. And that's what you should look out when you want to make a melody, right? Any good melody has like these motifs, these like reoccurring themes, and that's what you should try to get into your music. This will make the melodies feel much more logical and impactful and consistent, and also coherent. So this is basically the thing, and all I did on top of that was create some root notes, and the bass line that I created later I put under there, right? For this playing I use a VST that's called Keyzone Classic. It's free, you can download it. And I use the Yamaha grand piano. I don't know why it's choosing that font for me. It didn't always used to be doing that. And I got the standard reverb on there. I downloaded a plugin that's called FUZZ. You should get that as well. It's a very good plugin. And also TAL Dub with a very little wet, so it's very dry, meaning there's not much effect of it. And also an equalizer to take out some of the lows. And that's basically the lead for the first 2 bars. And I'm gonna show you what happens. Exactly. We start with like a kick and a 808. Like the kick and the 808 have the same pattern. The 808 follows the bass line straight. There's no nothing else. And the way I did the 808 is simply with the standard triple oscillator. All I did from the standard one looks like this, and all I did was change that to this and that to this. Then I also made that chose these settings up here, and I put an EQ on there where I higher the lows and lower the highs, basically. And I put some fuzz plus on there, some more distortion. Then we also have the kick. The kick is just a kick like of a free drum sample pack that I found online. You can download that free for like, but any should work, right? Then I double that. I choose a different preset for this one. So I use the Steinway before I use the Yamaha. And this is like the counter melody that I chose. The way I do counter melodies is I choose notes that I have in the other one, in the other main melody, and layer this with a different rhythm, right? So you can see there's a lot of harmony going on in the two, right? Basically any note is in harmony with the other notes that are playing, especially like playing at the same time, starting at the same time. And that is very important that you do that as well, because otherwise it's gonna sound off, right? So very, very important tip. I recommend putting your main melody into another new piano roll and then choosing harmonies for your counter melody. This counter melody is based on Freude schöner Götterfinken, which is a German song. Like very vaguely, right? That's what it reminds me of, and it fits very well with the theme. And all I did was layer that with this, and I go 1 octave down on every second. Do the same one with this one as well. Just makes it sound a bit more interesting. They are pretty quiet in the mix, but it works pretty well. Now let's talk about the hi-hat pattern. The hi-hat pattern is pretty simple. It's basically like a 2-step 16th note pattern, but I got some 1 and 24 notes right here, right, and then down here as well, and we have a lot of 24 notes, right, just sprinkled in there. This is called triplets, something very modern in trap nowadays. Now for this first verse part, basically this is the intro, this is the first verse, when somebody's singing or rapping over that. And what I do is I add more bass notes to this main melody. This makes it sound more full and has more energy. And then we also have this staying the same, everything staying the same, but that we also have a snare. I doubled the snare, so it sounds a bit more interesting, and I have a second hit. Basically it hits on the third, basically, and sometimes it hits at the end like as a bit of a shadow note thing. You can copy that if you want. I like the sound of it. It's very modern, very trappy. And like this is very easy for an artist to put a verse over that. So now this is the part where the hook comes in. So I removed this very strong melody right here and just play the bass notes. By the way, for the rhythm down here, I chose the same rhythm of the kicks, so it has a very unified rhythm. And then I played the main melody as like one of the background melodies, and choose this counter melody originally for like almost all the instruments. I also chose this instrument. This is how it sounds. Yeah. And this is something I really like to do. Basically, when coming out of the hook, it's sometimes hard to transition back into a verse for the artist, and to make that a little easier, I leave this bar open, which basically makes it easier for the artist to come back with more energy into the verse, right? Then we basically have the verse again. This is exactly the same as the first, and then we have a part for the chorus, right? This one is the same as for the intro, and this is also the same as for the intro, and that's all that plays. And basically, like, this is where the artist has the most freedom and can sing over and rap over very strongly. Then we also have a second hook part with less elements. This means the artist can double more layers or make the hook louder, the singing, to make it even stronger. Now we have kind of I call it the third verse, because it sounds different than anything else. Makes you listen more often to the track, in my opinion, because it makes the whole track as a whole more interesting. The way I achieve this is by letting the main instrument play the counter melody as well. So only the counter melody plays, everything plays the counter melody, and so it sounds very unified, very interesting. It could like compared to the rest. And then we just have another verse, very standard verse, and then I have an outro. Maybe let's try another note here. Actually, I like that, like it ends on a high note. This is basically the track. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. The original beat was done on my live stream. I will put the link to that down in the description if you want to follow that. Also my real music, I rap, I sing, I do anything, so if you would check that out, I would gladly appreciate it. And on that note, I will end this video. See you.